ladies. I am Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial business owner, the founder of Shalo Glow LLC, an all-natural skincare company that helps you glow from head to toe. I am a champion for your daily self-care, business care, and intentional wellness.
Hey, y'all. I'm Christine Gautreaux, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, published author, and dancing social worker who helps you upgrade yourself and community care.
Together, we are Women Connected in Wisdom, a podcast grounded in the 8 dimensions of wellness.
And we like to get together every week for intentional conversations between us and special guests about how to be wise in business, relationships, and wellness.
How do we do it? How do we do it all in the midst of this nonsense that we are living in?
One step at a time, right? Yes.
Right? I am coming in live today from Oakland, California, from the ancestral land of the Ohlone. And I'm in the Interplay Body Wisdom studio. So my tech may be a little dicier than usual. So thanks for your patience.
Oh, of course. Of course. And that's what we're talking about today, right? Occupational Wellness, episode 137. And when you show up 137 times, you might be somewhere else one of those times, a couple of those times, you know?
Well, and we're talking about igniting joy today. I can't wait because I'm already noticing your Christmas tree. This is a new development from the last time we were online.
Yes.
So on air, because you and I have been online in the meantime, but we know you love to spark and ignite joy by putting up that Christmas tree November 1st.
So important. And especially because the holidays can be difficult. You know, we talk about that. We talk about the challenge and the beauty of this year, right? So this year absolutely needs to go up first day. And it's been a joy to look at, and definitely helps me with my occupational wellness and celebrating all of these things that we're publishing and holding space for.
I love that. I love today that we're talking about occupational wellness, because one of the reasons I'm traveling is for my contract that I do with Interplay, where I serve as their innovation and integrity coordinator. And I was out here for performance. We did a hybrid performance workshop.
How was that?
It was fabulous. It was a little stressful. I was running tech. So that was why I was on site. So we had about 10, 12 people in the studio. We had about 6, 8 people online. And we played and performed with people all over the world. And so, the joy of, like, my friend Eileen, who's in Australia, who I've met in person once, but most of the time I get to play with her online, right? And the joy of having that connection and that accessibility is really delightful.
Yeah. And you said Eileen's in Australia. That's beautiful. I think about Eileen.
3:30 a.m. in the morning.
Committed.
For commitment to joy.
Right. Right. Shout out to these interplayers from around the world in these different time zones, right? And it reminds me of our Eileen, our Amazon bestselling author for Volume 2, out there in California with you, RVing through the nation as we're writing this book this year,
Right. And thinking of that, I probably should have built a few more days on both sides to connect with some of our authors on this coast. I'll do that next time I'm out here.
Yeah. But, and I mean, one thing I love that we talk about is not shitting on ourselves. Right. And now that you're there, and it's what my chapter is about. Now that you're there and you're looking at it, opportunity, building some more time, and next year we'll have the space for it.
I always think I'm going to have more time than I do. I don't know if y'all do that when you travel for work, because you think, I'm going to have all this time, but you're working. And it's good because I like to travel and work. Well, and then the time change, right? Like myself, I'm an early bird anyways. I'm all waking up at 4 a.m. in the morning over here on this coast. And then I'm down for the count at 8, 9. Last night I stayed up the longest at 11. But, about the time that I get ready to go home. But, I, as a remote worker and as someone who gets to travel for my job, one of the things I think about when I think about occupational wellness is holding on to my practice, holding on to the other 7 dimensions of wellness while I'm because a lot of times when I'm traveling, I am in the fullness of my occupational wellness. Like I love to travel and connect and meet new people. And that brings me joy. But as we're going to talk about, are you ready for me to give the definition?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I think our listeners, if you haven't heard it, I want you to hear it before we have this next little part of the conversation. So occupational wellness represents living in the purpose, passion, and productivity in one's chosen profession. This includes work-life balance, as a fulfilling and productive professional life is fitting to weave together with a healthy personal life.
So important. And what stands out to me and the privilege that we have in what we do is the chosen profession, right? When we talk about the American dream and how we manage our time and different things, just the fact that I can say, hey, I think I'm going to go from being a restaurant manager to an Amazon best-selling publisher. Let's do that instead, and to be able to say that we're going to have space for that and make a schedule for that is a beautiful opportunity.
Well, and I think about with that definition, I think about our passion and our purpose. And I think about since the last time we've been online with folks. Well, last week we were talking about the audiobook coming out for volume 1 and lifting up 18 authors' voices, both in print and now in audio. And then volume 2 also coming out and being an Amazon bestseller and lifting up 12 more authors. So lifting up that part of our purpose, as we've stated before, but we just always bring it back to our purpose. And I think why we have so much occupational wellness is lifting up women and people who identify as women, their voices, and especially women who've been traditionally oppressed. So being able, we were in a meeting the other day with our authors before the book came out, and I think at least 3 of them said, my dreams are coming true. Right?
Oh, yeah, they did.
And that's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
That's a powerful thing, right? So I think about that when I think about occupational wellness and how lucky we are, right?
And when I hear the word like lucky and, oh, this is crazy, that goes to what I'm looking at. So, I started writing my chapter for volume 3, and I think it's called, we'll see what it ends up being called, right? But strategically orchestrated. Everything happens for a reason, So when we talk about purpose, and today we're talking about, again, occupational wellness and igniting joy, right? This ignites joy, helping women be in better positions as individuals, as community members, as caretakers, as sisters, wives, all those things. And then seeing how it exponentiates into their partners and the families and the generations. And people already telling us, hey, I needed this. Hey, I know I'm not by myself. Wow, you guys need to read it. Can't wait they want it to be longer. Volume 3 is on the way, right? So, yeah, super excited to be here celebrating occupational wellness and knowing that I feel like I'm living in my purpose, and that's what we're working for and doing all these transitions for, right? But able to not only do it ourselves, but do it in community and ignite joy all over the place. Yeah.
Well, speaking of community, do you want to tell our listeners who our fabulous guest is today and get her up on stage so we can spark some more joy here?
Let's do it. So, ladies, today we're talking to Michelle Avenue. And Michelle Avenue is a racial equity strategist, justice educator, and the co-founder of Enjoy Coffee Company, a Black, queer, woman-owned, impact-driven mobile coffee cafe specializing in small batch artisan roasted coffee experiences across Atlanta, Georgia. During the unnerving start of the pandemic, Michelle, with her wife and co-founder Brandy Avenue, discovered that some of their most peaceful moments together were when they took the time to truly appreciate and connect over an amazing cup of coffee instead of rushing through it. This idea inspired them to start Enjoy Coffee to help people reframe their relationship with coffee from a means to hustle and grind to an opportunity to slow down and embrace the small daily moments of joy. Welcome to the stage, Michelle Avenue.
Hello.
Hi, Michelle. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I mean, just listening to the start of your conversation was already so inspiring, so joy igniting. I was like, oh my God, yes, I am in the right place. I'm so grateful to be connected with you all.
Absolutely. And when I think about how we met, right, we were on Auburn Avenue, and Christine, we're celebrating Kiana's 40th birthday, right? So at the beginning of the year, we're talking about Shaylo Globe being on Auburn Avenue, London's Closet, and we're like, oh my goodness, I turned 30 this year. She turned 40 this year. And we were at one of the businesses and went over there to celebrate with some of our sweet Auburn fellow neighbors, right? And Michelle and Brandy saw us walking back. And this was in the time that we were supposed to still be doing our event. So I saw them looking in. I said, you ladies want to come check out the space? And so from the moment that we met, we were igniting joy. Our meeting, ignited joy at the end of the night. So I had a really good time meeting you guys. And I look forward to hearing more about your coffee and how you decided to not only slow down and take those moments. We talk about that in volume 2, right? But why coffee? And can you tell us about your passion around it? I know you don't do things without passion. So can you tell our listeners more about what you do?
That's definitely true. So Enjoy Coffee Company is a passion project that I started with my wife, Brandy Avenue. She is actually the official, coffee lover of the family. And it's funny when you say, I don't do anything but without passion, because I also have a separate business of mine, which is called Passion and Power, which is actually focused on creating more equitable and safe community spaces, right? So within this work of joy and coffee, she really opened my eyes to it first, right? I've always liked coffee, it's been a thing. Also, I'm a tea girl, so I love tea, right? And I think what the difference is in my love of coffee now has been the intention that I bring to the experience. And so we really got an opportunity to for me to develop this passion at the start of the pandemic, where obviously we were at a critical time in our society, our country, right? And being in such a state of, injustice, harm, health concerns, right? Death, right? A lot of despair around us. It was so important for us to still be able to center each other, still be able to take the time to not get swallowed up by that, right? And so one of our favorite things to do, right, as we were both, I was out of work in terms of I was no longer working. I started this my equity work in the academia space. So I wasn't in the classroom anymore. I was home, we were just here, right?
Yes.
She wasn't working anymore in the public. And so we have a porch and we love to just go out on our porch during the day, whenever, right? And just kind of take some time. We just love being able to look around, take a beat, talk, kiki, all of the things, right? And one of the things we like to do with that is have coffee. And so we would have, during the pandemic is when we really actually got the opportunity to invest in the coffee experience. And what I mean by that is instead of going through the norm of, let me first of all, most folks don't even make coffee at home, right? Many people think that it's maybe too complicated or it's too much going on, right? The experience feels inaccessible, right? And so many of us have not had the privilege to learn about coffee and how to even, create it within our own households. So within our space, right, we were like, okay, moving from that place of maybe let me just rush through, make a quick cup before I have to, jet out and head to work, guzzle it in my car, right? It's spilling on me. I'm not even, I'm like, ugh, by the time I get to the office, it's half lukewarm, right? It has all this sugar, all this cream, because they told me oh, you want some flavored coffee? That's what you're supposed to do, right? And you're like,
Right.
giving me a rush that I don't think I'm supposed to have, right? It's but you do it just out of necessity, just out of routine. You're just used to, all right, let me make the coffee. All right, let me, even throughout the day at work, right? Let me do it to continue to do more, to grind, to get through this meeting, to listen to these folks drone on, right? And many times it's not even a good quality coffee experience. And we're just doing it. And so the pandemic allowed us the opportunity to really recenter and say, you know what? Let me take some time to finesse this experience in the way that I want to. Let me actually learn, what it means to even have French press coffee. What is that? okay, let's go on Amazon. Let's get the device. Let's, actually try the thing. Okay. It's not that difficult. She's showing me, I'm learning. I'm like, okay, let me make mine. We kind of had little competitions, like who can make the best cup, right? It's like, oh no, this is hitting. No, I think yours was hitting. No, mine was, like going back and forth. And
I love
so,
that.
yeah. So it just became a whole thing. And as, the pandemic was going on, and obviously we got a lot of time to really start to ask ourselves some deeper questions about, what are we are we just going to go about life like in this pattern of I'm just doing these things because this is what is expected. This is the trajectory I'm on, recognizing there is so much more to life than just going on that hamster wheel. It's so important for us to actually live a life of joy, right? To actually appreciate the moments that we have in health, in safety, right? In together. And how can we actually hold on to this for the long term? How can we actually move forward and say, I'm not just going to, take this quote unquote pandemic time to, color and go on walks and then go right back to these oppressive ways of being that have been normalized. How about we actually make the shift to say a new way is possible? Not even new, right? Like getting back to our roots of like, it doesn't have to be this way. You can actually embrace life and experience a life that is rooted in your purpose, that's rooted in being multi-passionate, right? About different areas and saying, whatever that may be, let me just try. And so that's where the idea came about of like, what would it be like to share this experience with other people, to actually bring them into the fold and have them to like redefine how they view and understand coffee, right? How they practice it, how they, just the whole experience of it, to where we're actually taking intentional time to say, how can we learn about coffee? How can we, go through the process of brewing a cup that's going to bring us joy, and then holding on to that joy all throughout the day. And really with the mission of not only just sharing the coffee experience, particularly with communities and people who have not had access and have been marginalized from coffee, right? We often think about coffee in this really elitist way, right? It's like, oh, you have to have the $7 cup. It has to have all of these things. The everything is so complicated about it. So many, right? Black folks, many low income folks, they don't have access to that coffee experience. They think it's not for them. And we said, no, like the birthplace of coffee is Africa. Like we should all have access to this experience. How can we start to invite our community members to join into this? And so that's where she actually came up with the idea, was like, you know what, instead of just going back to my regular work, doing the same old thing, why can't we start something? Like, why can't we like start to introduce people to this coffee experience? And like, we started doing our research. We started, just getting out there and figuring out how do we do it, because folks are doing it. So somebody is doing it. There's an action plan. Let's figure it out.
Yes.
Through that research, we were able to, find what we needed and to begin the process of starting an Enjoy Coffee Company. And that's how we got started.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I know that was a long,
We're here for it. We're here for all your words. Welcome to the podcast.
Right?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
When you were talking, Michelle, I was thinking, there were a couple of things I was thinking about. When you very first started talking, I thought about the impact, not just of COVID, but on COVID, especially in Black and Brown communities, and how the information was just not right. And the numbers were really horrific when you looked at the people that were dying. And I think about Shannon, and Shannon's starting her business during the pandemic, and really like how many gifts came out of the pandemic. Like how many, I love that this came out. I was also thinking, I got one more, Shannon, I'm gonna toss to you. I was also thinking of being a tea girl myself. I always joke that there were two things that I drank too much of in college and could never have again, and that was coffee and tequila. But the good news is,
those are two of my favorites.
Right. Well, the good news is I realized I can have coffee if it's the right kind of coffee and I don't overdo it. And the same thing with tequila, if it's high end, right? So having that, but I think about ritual with tea. And I've never really, when I think about what you were saying, coffee really is usually associated with the grind and the go. And so for y'all creating this model where it's more ritual and it's more ceremony and it's more community and connection, it's just beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. I also want to acknowledge, right, that this idea of changing the routine around coffee is not something that we created. This brings us back to the origins of what coffee actually was and was meant to be, right? In indigenous and Black cultures, coffee, and in many Arab cultures as well, right? Coffee is a community experience where folks come around and they are connecting, right? They are taking time. They are, really experiencing not only the beverage in itself, but the connection that it brings, right? And so we wanted to get back to that and really disrupt this white supremacist view of coffee as a means to do more and say, no, like coffee is actually like an opportunity to sit back, right? We recently took a trip to Dubai this past summer and got to, really see and experience some cultural elements of coffee, right? And one of the things that we saw was, people actually gathered at night to drink coffee because it was something that they did to like wind down, to just chill, to just be like, and it was like, wow, like typically, right, in Western culture in the US, we're like, oh, get in the morning, let's rush and run. And it's like, that's not the real purpose. And I think that really just speaks to bringing intention to anything that we do, right? Like we can change like the purpose of it and actually make it something that's more in line with the life that we want to live.
I love that. And that's what I think about, bringing intention to all that we do, to all that, y'all know I take notes, hold on, that we do. So, Christine, what I think about is your still points, right? Like that's what it reminds me of, Michelle. Like, okay, usually we're taught that this is go, 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 right? I might still do it in the morning. I might do it at night. I am one of those people. We'll talk about Hiram, the band at Waffle House after the football games, right? But the intentionality behind it, just to stop and to communicate, even for a second. I'll keep going. We'll hit the deadline. Hey, we'll be early to the deadline, but we can be early and still take the still point and drink our water and respond to the email. And it'll be okay. We can watch the sunrise with our partner, and balance it out.
Yeah. All the things, right? It's not either or. Like we can have it all. Truly.
Yeah. And what I love about it is, what I love about how we're building the way that we work is really, of course, if we're working on another team and partnering with an employer, or if we are the employer and we're building the systems and the team, right? We can say, wow, what was I going to have us say? Oh, we can ask, what do I want it to look like?
Yeah.
Right. What would this in a perfect world look like? And then how can I still reach my goals in that? And hopefully every day we have a few minutes, and we can make a few minutes if we feel like we don't have it, to say, this is for me. And then everything else will happen within that day.
Exactly. And like you said, like, it's not even about finding the time. It's about saying, I'm going to prioritize and create the time, right? Because there's always going to be a rationale as to why we can't. There's too much to do. It's like, y'all, like, let's slow down. Let's slow down, take a beat, take a breath, because in doing that, we really believe that you actually get to better outcomes, right? Like we're taught and socialized to believe that you have to push through, do more, rush, rush, rush to get to the thing. But if we get there and we're burnt out and we fractured relationships, right? Because we're not fueling ourselves, like, is it really worth it? Like,
no. And and it's really interesting, because what I used to think about is like a water snake, right? And and it's funny now, I can say maybe the younger kids don't know what this toy is, right? But it's like this this tube where if you squeeze it, it'll pop out of your hands, right? And that's how I feel with trying to work and make stuff happen, or trying to over control details. You're trying to squeeze it so much that it popped out of your hand, and all of your worst fears are now happening because of the way that we did it, So when we come from a more centered place and including everything and all the steps, which includes the time for myself in time for community in the midst of getting stuff done. And that's what I talk about in volume 2. Now, when you're at the end of the project, you've poured out, but you've also been poured into, you've rested, you've communicated, and you can cleanly go to the next thing and enjoy it along the way,
Exactly. Exactly. That's what it's all about. It's about, actually saying, am I finding, fulfillment, happiness, peace from this, from not only my big goals and the big things that I do today, day to day, but in the everyday, right? Like we wanted to really center joy, not just as like this fleeting feeling where it's like, okay, through the coffee, have your joy, and then it's done. And then what? Another cup? Like, of course, we want you to, right? Like,
Right.
if that is something that is in alignment with what feels good. But more importantly, what we want to do is really inspire folks to make joy a practice. To mean that as we go about that day, right? As you start, let's say, with your coffee and you say, oh, that feels good. I'm able to, when I opened this laptop, I had a different energy about me because I was holding on to that feeling of what the coffee, brought me. I mean, I find myself doing that, right? Like, it's like my wife, Brandy, will make the cup in her little special, way with her little
Right. Shout out to Brandy's Coffee.
Shout out to Brady's Coffee. And I'm like,
Right.
oh my God, babe, like this is like amazing. And I feel like, okay, I feel good to, respond to this email that I don't really feel like writing, right? But after, what I want is for also folks to say, okay, in those other decisions, right? As I'm making lunch, as I'm having to watch my kids, as I'm having to write up X, Y, and Z, how can I start to identify moments to actually create joy, to say, to approach a situation that may be mundane, that may even be a little annoying, to say, like, what is the joy in this? Instead of looking at the email like, oh God, I gotta, explain this and go in detail and okay, let me start to write. How
So
about
important.
we look at it and say, oh, you know what? This is an opportunity to connect with people, right? I'm sharing my work. I'm, connecting with people in a way that is allowing them to, know my boundaries, whatever, right? A reframe where it's like, I can feel good about this action. I can feel at peace. I'm gaining joy and ease from doing whatever the thing is. And hopefully throughout the day, we can identify more and more moments to cultivate the joy, right? To say, like, I'm going to do this intentionally. I'm going to, drive and get these groceries, right? And really like embrace the part of my day where I just get to be in the car alone and I get to select things and I get to have the resources to shop, to pick the things and have 50 million options to pick, right? Like just embracing that joy in the day to day.
Yes, the physical ability to walk down the aisle and the financial capability to buy groceries for another week, all of that stuff.
I love that, Michelle.
Yes.
My ears perked up when in your intro and from a little things you've been talking about the experience. So I want to know more about how y'all create mobile experiences and who you create them for. Like, how does that work as part of your company?
Yeah, thank you for asking about that. That's one of the most favorite elements of this work, connecting with people through these coffee experiences to help folks really, one, to demystify coffee, right? Where it's not this like inaccessible thing where you have to know all the terms and all the vernacular and all the things. Like, let's just start at the basics. We've had so many connection points with folks where we have conversations to literally, like, it's not just us like jabbing information down folks' throats. It's like also like, teach me. Like, folks will share recipes, share brewing methods with us, teach us how they experience coffee in different cultures, right? And so with our coffee experiences, there are a couple ways that we cultivate these throughout Atlanta. So one of the first ways, right, we started with our online shop, right? And then outside of the pandemic, I want to say this was 2021, we decided, you know what, because we had been doing kind of coffee events with our intimate community, but we said, let's get out there. Let's kind of connect this coffee in person with folks, right? And so we started to do artisan markets and pop-ups, right? And actually connect with people and teach them, educate them about the coffee and get our name out there, right? Connect with folks. And so from doing that, we then transitioned and we said, you know what, we would like to always, one of the, most common questions that we get is folks asking us, oh, do you have a shop? Do you have a coffee shop? Where's your coffee shop? Where can I get it? Right. And we're like, we were like online. And because where we were at, right, in our goals in our family, that was not on the radar, right, to get a coffee shop, obviously, for a lot of different reasons, right? And it takes a lot of investment, a lot of work, all of the things where that was not our goal at that point, but we wanted to still connect people with the experience. So,
hey y'all, this is a great place to take a break, take a deep breath, and hear from our awesome sponsors that make Women Connected in Wisdom podcast possible. Shannon, we are so grateful that Shaylo Glow is the sponsor of the Women Connected in Wisdom podcast. And I wanted to take this moment to ask you, when you think about the people who use Shaylo Glow, who are we talking about?
That's a good question. I think about 3 groups, really. One, the group that's removing hair, right? So whether you're using laser hair removal, waxing, shaving, you got to make sure that you're putting back what you're taking out. The second group, I think about those with dry skin and the problems that might cause, right? The scars, itching, burning, whatever the situation is, you definitely need all 3 steps, right? The exfoliation, making sure you're taking the dead skin cells off. The oil, putting in the moisture, and then the shea butter with the aloe, sealing it, helping you heal. Those things help both groups, right? And third, for the third group is those with chronic illness. The story is personally from cancer and different diseases that our population is dealing with on a daily basis throughout families as individuals. So I'm thinking about my mom and my grandmother and those around me with the same generational ties, right? And what positive, healthy habits we can start to make sure that we're maintaining our wellness, especially because the skin is like the cape, the exterior, the shield for your immune system. So with COVID, we have to be intentional about covering ourselves. And those are the groups I think about.
I love it. And you know what else I love about your product? It's all natural, handmade, and it smells great, y'all. So
esthetician tested. Yes, esthetician tested and approved. Yes. What about you? When you think about your company, what groups of people do you think about?
Well, I work with individual coaching clients. I work in community classes and with corporate teams. And with all of them, I use a strength-based, embodied approach to help folks connect with themselves and access joy, reduce burnout, and build resilience. Especially during these times, I think we need it. I think we need all the #partnership power we can get.
Yes.
So Brandy, again, with her fiercely, passionate and inspiring mind, driven, so driven, so persistent, she started doing research, and she basically came to me and was like, you know what? How about we do like coffee, like a food truck, but for coffee? I was like, oh,
it's a great idea.
Yeah, I was like, that sounds good, right? Because then we're not defined or, structured just in one locale where we're like, oh, we got to make this work. We got to promo for just this space, make sure that people are coming to us. How about we bring the coffee to people? And so what happened was that, Brady did a whole bunch of research, and she was actually able to, we were actually able to get a mobile coffee trailer, which we have, affectionately called our mobile coffee cafe. And so she, kind of gave me the specs on it, ran it down. I was like, okay, cool. Show me the little pictures. This is great. But inside was bare. It was just wood planks. It was nothing inside, not a sink, not a counter, not a paint on the wall. And so I'm like, what's going on here? How are we going to do this? Okay?
Right.
And somehow we figured it out. She ordered this trailer. It came. Brandy was about, I don't know. At that point, I want to say maybe she was about, no, it was early, maybe only a month pregnant with our son at that point. And we were like, okay, we're going to basically renovate this trailer to get it out. And so we took a couple of weeks and we went through the process of renovating this trailer from nothing to a fully equipped mini coffee shop on wheels where, we have everything that we need. We have a sink, we have a fridge, we have our countertops, we have our bag display, we have our machinery, right? Our brewing equipment. And we were able to paint it. I was in there with my music, just vibing out, and I had to sand the walls first. Like, it was a whole thing. But
Mhm.
we can get crafty when we want to. And
Right.
it really was, there was nothing like putting our true like investment into like physical investment to say like, this is what we want to do. And so we created our mobile coffee cafe, which is like a trailer. And what we do is we basically partner with either individuals and groups or community spaces. So whether that's companies or, an organization that really is wanting to spark a moment of joy within their own community through coffee. And so what we do is we come out with either our mobile coffee cafe, or we set up in like indoor spaces and kind of create a little like bistro customized for our clients, where we offer a customized coffee menu for folks so they're able to select which roast they want, what flavor notes, right? Specifying to their folks and what they like and what they want. They develop a customized coffee menu. We come out, we connect with people, we educate them on the different brews and roasts that we have, and we provide just something that is opportunity for folks to again take that beat and really just create a moment of ease through coffee. So that could be at a brunch, that could be at an event, that could be just a midday moment of joy, like whatever that looks like. But we partner with folks and then kind of go out to their space, and we're really excited about connecting with people who want to center that experience, right? Not just like, we just want the coffee and go, and no, it's like, let's take a beat, let's have a conversation, right? And so that's what we do through our coffee experiences. So we have that. We have also our artisan markets. And yeah. So that's where we're at with our coffee experiences.
That is so fun. I had about 1,000 events I thought about that y'all would be perfect for, right?
Oh,
I mean, I think about weddings, I think about
mhm.
parties, I mean, really, there's not an event that you wouldn't be perfect, right? Like,
Yeah.
pull
Because,
up
a
and
lot of times with birthday parties, weddings, things like
Mhm,
that, right? Folks may have some libations, right? But at the end of the night, right, they want folks to kind of, get back on
mhm,
track, right? Like
mhm,
shaping up,
mhm,
right? And so coffee provides that. And again, going back to the origins of coffee being a nighttime drink and
mhm.
something to kind of end the evening, right? It's a great opportunity for folks to infuse that in their event in whatever way that looks like.
I love that.
Yeah.
And what I was thinking about earlier, so I used to think I was weird, Michelle. Okay, we talk about
Okay.
being nerdy. We talk
Okay.
about sharing stories, right? And after the football games in Hiram, country town in Georgia, right? Go to the Waffle House and I'm drinking coffee. And I'm like, why am I drinking coffee before bed? And I loved it, went to sleep, everything was fine.
Mhm.
Sometimes I wake up in the morning and drink it, right? Especially now. But would you mind, before we go into the wisdom in action and what you're doing for yourself, can you talk a little bit more about why it's okay to drink coffee at night? Like, how does that work when we thought it was an energizer that you start your day off with?
Yeah, definitely. So, it's a common misconception that all coffee is going to make you feel, jittery and antsy and all of that, right?
Okay.
One, I think honestly that it goes back to intention. If you're drinking something, if you're whatever it is, right, with the intention of being wired and getting, being up, right?
Yes.
This association, particularly in Western culture that we've made with coffee, a lot of folks are expecting that. So they're already going into the experience thinking like, no, this is going to keep me up, right? Where it's like, it really depends on the quality and the roasting level of the coffee, right?
Mm,
So getting into some specifics. And again, that's why it depends on, where, what type of coffee you're consuming, or is it, not to be shady, but obviously there are different levels of quality, right? If you're just kind of doing gas station coffee, or having something just maybe low tier in the grocery store that is, been sitting on the shelf for, the last month, that's going to have a different impact versus something that is roasted with quality, right? And particularly our darker roasted coffee that actually has lower levels of caffeine. Most folks think opposite, right? They think that darker roast is going to be stronger, bolder, and it may taste that way, but actually the caffeine levels are lower. And so if you go darker, you know, are less likely to get that wired higher levels of caffeine. But also, again, it depends on the quality of the roasting, to where your quality coffee should not make you feel, you know, that way, particularly after one cup. Now, obviously, everybody is different. Everybody's emotional and physical needs are different, so coffee can affect them differently. And that's why you experiment. You start to define and figure out like what works for me, what feels good, right? But the assumption that all coffee is just going to keep you awake all night, totally not the case. Not at all.
It makes perfect sense. Thank you for that.
Yeah, of course.
So every week, again, we talk about wisdom in action. So
Okay.
with occupational wellness this week, what are you doing? What helps you with the multiple businesses that you have and the roles that you're in to maintain your wellness?
Good question. So you said, what do I do to maintain that balance?
Your occupational wellness, yes.
You know, so many practices, right? Like
Mhm.
over time, you learn more, you swap things out. Um, let me be intentional with mine, because there are a lot. There are a lot
Okay,
of
and you don't have to go first if you don't want to.
okay.
You want me to go
Okay.
first, Christine?
Yeah, go first. Go
I got a
ahead.
few. Okay. So I see thumbs up. Let's see. I got a lot of good gems here, Michelle. You gave me a lot of hashtags to work with on things that I would like to include for my
Okay.
wellness. And when I think about occupational wellness, what did you say? Let me see. I think it was this the center joy, through everything, through the transition from Topgolf and Papado and studying online to do these businesses, like Christine said, for occupational wellness since COVID has started, right, in 2020, being able to see the beauty and remember to center the joy, why I'm doing it, the purpose and the passion of everything, like we're talking about, that is helped me prioritize what I want to do and keep front of mind, what do I want my life to look like? So I'll say hashtag center joy.
Yes.
What about you, Christine?
Mine was definitely along the same lines this week, and it was look for the joy.
I love that.
I often do that as part of my regular practice anyways, but with occupational wellness, sometimes we get into the task of things, just like you were talking about, Michelle. And I'm like, oh yeah, look for the joy. Like even in that email that you don't want to write.
Yes.
Yeah.
I really like that. What about
It's
you?
like, at least I have some business. At least I have,
Yes.
connection,
Somebody
whatever
talks
it
to.
may be. It's like they checking for me, so I'm here. Let me write this
They're
to you,
waiting. Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I would say a big one for me has been the practice of doing less. And specifically the practice of going back to, what this conversation is about, of disrupting the grind. As someone who has multiple responsibilities and is very high achieving, right? And has high standards, right? I can overwhelm myself, right? And I'm learning that you can't do it all, at least not to the level that you want to. You need support, and also to let go of that weight and that burden that we place on ourselves so often, of like, I have to do this and that and that. And it's like, so I've been being intentional around like what I think I can do, and then trying to like slash that in half and being like, no, like maybe for the day, focus on top three things, right? And one of those may be, write an email and, close out some tabs, right? That's two, right? So now I only got one big thing, because then I can focus my energy in a more aligned way and not beat myself up at the end of the day when it's like, oh, I didn't get through, the 10 things on the list. And it's like, you couldn't anyway. Like, so what are you doing?
Right.
That's a real
Realistic.
talk.
Yeah. It's important.
Yeah.
It's
So
important.
trying to do
I love
less, for sure.
Michelle, before we say goodbye, can you tell our listeners where to find you and connect with you?
Yeah, for sure. Well, you can first connect with us at Enjoy Coffee Company on Instagram, at Enjoy Coffee Company. And then our website for all of our coffee packages and coffee experiences, and as well as our bagged coffee, which we roast fresh and brew it, not brew it, roast it fresh and deliver it directly to your door. You can connect with us on our website, which is Enjoy Coffee Co. So co.com.
Love it. And what about the purpose, excuse me, the purpose and power. Can you give them that information too if they want to learn more?
Yes, for sure. Close, right? It's all connected.
Right.
I own a justice consulting firm, which is called Passion and Power. So you can connect with me either on Instagram at Passion AND Power, or at my website passionandpowerus.com.
Thank you for that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
of
Well, it's
course.
been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this much needed conversation. It's been, again, just so inspiring to hear about the work that you all are doing to really live, more intentionally. And knowing that we're not alone in this work is really, really important. So I appreciate
Yes,
you.
So
absolutely.
grateful to be connected. And we were talking
Yeah.
before the show about figuring out ways we can connect and have an enjoy coffee experience, maybe at one of
Yes.
our upcoming book signings. That would be
That
We
would
would
delightful.
be
love that. We would love it. Well, we're here. We're here to connect. So don't be
And
afraid.
so,
no.
we put all your info in our show notes. So
Okay.
listeners, if you're listening and you were driving, don't worry. It's in our
We
show
got
notes. Go to
yes.
Love it.
womenconnectedinwisdom.com and you'll find links to all our podcast episodes. So thank you
Yes.
so much, Michelle, for
Thank
being
you.
here. We are so grateful to be connected.
Thank
Yes.
you. Appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day.
Absolutely. You too.
Oh, so
Mm.
fun. Well, it makes me want to have a cup of coffee, doesn't it?
Oh, I need some of this Enjoy coffee because
I know the only way this episode could have been better is if we'd all had a cup of that yummy coffee in front of us while we
and
did it.
we might have to redo it. We're talking about going live for the summit, right? And different things. We can come back and do
Right?
it. We can do
And
it
have
definitely.
Brandy here the next time so we get to interview her too.
Yeah,
So that would be
Brandy,
super
both,
fun.
whatever makes sense. I love it. I like
Love it.
being creative, and that's what I
Right?
was thinking about when I think about occupational wellness and what Michelle said about hashtag doing less, right? That's why I love growing a team. Maybe it's not for me to do. Maybe this is for somebody else to bring on the team to do. And I hear so many women with so many great ideas. And then you're like, but I can't do all of this by myself. And I say, congratulations, welcome to business, right? And we can build teams and systems to support you. And sometimes maybe you don't need to do it. Maybe you take that
Right.
off the list. So I love it. Yeah.
I love that too.
Spark and joy.
All right, my friend.
Okay.
Episode 137.
Yes.
Anything our listeners need to know before we chat with them again next Wednesday?
I don't think so. And if you didn't listen, if you didn't listen last week and you weren't here at the beginning of the recording, please know that the audiobook is available. So if you haven't had time to read volume 1 and you've been looking forward to getting into the stories and resources of our original 18 authors that we had last year, it's now available for you to listen to on your car ride home, on your car ride to work. That's what we're talking about, right? Coffee in different times. And outside of that, just stay tuned. We have more stuff, but the goal is to always have that. So I would just say in the meantime, don't forget,
Be well
be wise,
and be whole.
We'll see you soon.
Thanks for listening. This has been the Women Connected in Wisdom podcast. On air live on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern via Facebook and YouTube. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be part of the conversation and get connected at womenconnectedinwisdom.com.